Okay, so before we get into this video, I want you, if you haven't already done so, to subscribe to my channel and ring the notification bell so you can get more updates on any other videos that I make. And after you watch this video, like it, comment on it, share it. Okay, so this video is about the scariest movie of 2019. I mean, the worst, most frightening horror film in 2019. And I'm not talking about Child's Play the remake. I'm not talking about Annabelle or It or anything stupid like that. None of those kind of movies have ever scared me. I'm just going to be honest with you. Okay? This movie is the Netflix original, wrongly titled The Marriage Story. Should be entitled the gut-wrenching, too realistic for comfort, horrifying divorce rape story. The nightmare of all men. I'm just going to start off. I'll just read to you a post I made about it on Facebook. I watched the movie last night at the recommendation of a YouTube channel that I'm subscribed to. He wasn't recommending it because it's a good movie or because he liked it. He was recommending it because it's pretty red pill and it'll wake up a dude if he hasn't already went through it, which I have and am going through. Okay, so my post says, wow, I just watched Marriage Story on Netflix. Watched it because I was deceived by the title. It should be called The Way Too Realistic Divorce Story. 2 hours later into the movie, I thoroughly regret it, as I have now relived my own personal hell on earth experience that I am not even done with living through in real life yet. I feel someone has taken a gut hook and torn me from throat to belly button, then reached deep down inside of my chest through the wound, grabbed my heart and removed it violently from my chest, and then found some cruel and unusual way to make me survive this process. I was not prepared for that. It was too soon. Screw you, Netflix, for making this film and for naming it inappropriately on purpose and in mere hours temporarily reversing years of attempted healing on my part. I have got to start reading the descriptions rather than going by the titles and thumbnails. I have added to a cup of emotional traumas that was already overflowing, and for no good reason. Do not watch this movie if you have any time recently been forced to go through a divorce and children were involved. This movie professional boxer lung punched me and reduced me, a thoroughly life-hardened grown man, into a full-on fetal position in tears of turmoil, undiluted anguish, and absolute 190 proof pain, indescribable adequately with any words known to me. Okay, I'm going to turn off my emotional switch now and go bye-bye for a long time for the sake of getting my necessary life goals accomplished in light of the emotional hell Netflix has just caused me. Again, for the love of any sanity that you have reserved for yourself, do not watch this movie if, in real life, you have recently gone through or are going through an unusually painful divorce against your will, especially where children were involved. Okay, so that's the post that I made about it. This movie is very, very painful. It's about a husband and wife who, of course, were best friends, loved each other in the cultural way that most people in America mean when they say love, which just means that they had butterflies for each other, took each other's breath away, that kind of stuff. Not the biblical definition of love. When I'm saying it in this video, I mean the cultural definition of love. I'm trying not to cry right now. I watched that movie 10 hours ago now and waited that 10 hours to collect myself to make a video on it, and still it's painful for me to even think about this movie. Stars, I think her name's Scarlett Johansson, Black Widow from the Avengers movies, and the husband, I don't know what his name is. He's not a known actor to me, but yeah, it's about a husband and wife, love each other, get married, have a child, grow apart. The wife stops having sex with the husband, and apparently after about a year or two of a sexless marriage, essentially, he has an affair with a coworker, which is immoral on his part, and I am not justifying that at all. But as far as I can tell from watching the movie, that was his major and only real downfall. Whereas the wife in this movie was a horrible human being from the beginning. I mean, she'd walk into the house after they both had a full day of work and start throwing her clothes all over the house, start just making a huge mess with toys, playing with the child, which is fine to play with your child, but she's throwing the toys around, throwing her clothes around, just leaving it around. Husband cleans it. Then eventually she just decides to stop having sex with her husband for 2 years, and then becomes surprised when, spoiler alert, a man has sexual desires that after 2 years, become misused, and he has an affair. Again, wrong on his part. So the wife, years and years later, they still not having sex with her husband. They just grow apart, and they decide to get a divorce. And when I say they, I mean she decides, and he just goes along with it because he wants her to be happy. So she tells her husband, we're not going to get any lawyers involved. Don't hire a lawyer. We're going to do this between me and you as adults, without the court system or anything. Don't hire a lawyer. She tells her husband, hey, we live in New York, but do you mind if I take a job temporarily in Los Angeles on the other side of the country and take our son with us, and I will be coming back, and we're still going to live in New York. Okay, then once she moves to Los Angeles from New York, she immediately makes quick work of hiring one of the best lawyers in Los Angeles to represent her, when she told her husband that she wasn't going to do that and that he should not do that. Then she takes advantage of a law that says if she goes and speaks to a lawyer about possibly representing her, that that lawyer can no longer represent her husband. So what she proceeded to do was go have a meeting with all of the best divorce attorneys in Los Angeles, even though she's already going with this particular lawyer's services. That way, when her husband finds out she's hired a lawyer and is forced to hire one himself in self-defense, he can't hire any of the ones that actually have a chance against her lawyer. So the child of theirs was born in California at his wife's request. She wanted to go to California from their home in New York to have the child, and then she wanted to go visit her family in California every once in a while, every couple years. So what the court ended up saying was, yeah, this boy lived in New York for 10 years in the sense that he actually had a home there and lived there, but he was born in California. He now goes to school in California because the mom kidnapped him and enrolled him in school without the father's permission. And so therefore, really, he's always lived in California by government standards, because he was born there one time for a few hours of his life, and then because his mom kidnapped him and then enrolled him in school there without his father's permission, that means that he has not lived in New York for the past 10 years by the justice system standard, apparently. And then the movie just proceeds to quickly escalate into just the most horrible, horrific, emotionally traumatizing things that a man and woman can say and do to each other. Very realistic, very close to home for me, because once you start going through divorce, I don't believe in divorce theologically and spiritually as a Christian. I follow biblical laws, and so I would never ever get a divorce in the sense of go and file one myself and seek it. But in America, if someone files against you, you're getting a divorce. It has nothing to do with your opinion. So you can either hire a lawyer in self-defense, or you cannot, and then by default, the woman will get all of your property, all of your money, all of your children, full custody. So you have to hire a lawyer whether you believe in divorce or not in America, because she will get it either way. Just you will lose everything if you don't hire a lawyer in self-defense. So he hires a lawyer in self-defense. He hires the nicest lawyer he can find, partly because she already interviewed all of the good lawyers, and so he could not hire them legally. And partly because he really was seeking someone who was going to do this as nicely and kindly for his wife as possible, because he went and interviewed a good lawyer, what you would call a shark, and he didn't like what the good lawyer was saying, even though it was all true. And he was just like, no, my wife would never do these things. The preemptive actions you're telling me to take before she does them won't be necessary because she wouldn't do these things to me. And everything that shark lawyer told him that she would do, she did, and more. And he didn't hire that guy because he didn't want to put his wife through any pain, even though she's doing so to him without a second hesitation. She's like behaving like someone with borderline personality disorder and PMDD and narcissistic sociopathy and antisocial personality disorder. I mean, you name it, she's behaving like she's got it. And her husband's still like, no, I don't care. She wouldn't do that to me. Even if she would, I don't want to do that to her. Blah, blah, blah. But it doesn't matter. She won't do it to me. She ended up doing it all to him. By the end of the movie, he had to fire his lovey-dovey Mr. Rogers lawyer and go hire the shark lawyer anyway, just to defend himself, just to even maintain and retain any shred of parental right at all, any shred of financial, monetary, or property rights. And it's just a heart-wrenching movie. Both of them, even, I don't like the Charlotte Johansson character in the movie, obviously. But I will say this, both of them betray the emotional pain that goes through this, whether you look at the man as the bad guy in this movie or whether you look at the woman as the bad guy. Both of them very well portray the emotional anguish that people like this would go through. The woman she more so does it in private and hides it from her husband and hides it from the world, but then she'll walk around a corner and in private in her bedroom, break down and cry. The man will openly do it. But they say some horrible things to each other in private in this movie during the divorce when they're trying to negotiate outside of court and stuff. It'll always de-escalate very quickly into a who can hurt who more fest. They allow their lawyers to say horrible things about each other in court. I would say more so the man's lawyer is saying the truth about the wife. It's just not kind, but it's true. I would say more so the woman's lawyer is lying and at best stretching and misrepresenting the truth on her end, while saying horrible things about the husband that are flat out lies or just very carefully worded truths that are misrepresented. It's a painful, painful movie. I don't know, man. It's a painful movie. And if you have gone through or are going through all divorces are painful, I'm sure, but there are people who are exceptionally badly matched and that were the best friends at first are the ones that make the worst enemies during the divorce process. People like my wife and myself, for instance, are like the characters in this movie. If you are one of those people that were best friends with your spouse before you even married them and were best friends with them a little while at the beginning of the marriage and then it just de-escalated and now you're literally worst enemies, that you do things to each other that you wouldn't do to your worst enemies and that you wouldn't wish on your worst enemies, you don't watch this movie. A Marriage Story on Netflix, because it's very, very painful and it's probably too soon for you to watch it until like 10 years I mean, past the divorce. I mean, until your children are 18 and you don't have to deal with each other anymore. I wouldn't watch this movie. I would not recommend it at all. If you're a man and you are red pill, men's rights movement, MGTOW minded type of individual, I guess you should watch it just to harden yourself to the reality of what can happen, what probably statistically will happen if you marry a woman through the state. I'm not anti-marriage. I'm anti-marriage through the state, through the legal marriage certificate. That's the signing over of a man's human rights, property rights, financial rights, parental rights. I'm against that, but I'm not against marriage. But if you're, one of those men that are against state marriage, you might want to watch it just to red pill yourself up a little more. But it is a painful movie, man. I literally, I was in my house alone because of my wife kidnapping my four children. I have four children. I've been trained by the legal system now to say three, because they have made it clear to me that even though I raised my stepdaughter from birth, she's turning 13 soon here in about a month or a couple weeks. I've been trained by the legal system now not to in public call her my daughter during the trials and stuff, or I will get negative reactions. So I'm never allowed to see her again, really. So yeah, I have four children, and they are not here, as you can see, and we're not here when I watch this because my wife has legally kidnapped them. And so I was watching this movie alone. I'm a grown man. I've had a very rough life that you wouldn't believe if I explained it to you. It's unrealistically rough. So I'm a hardened man, and I got on the floor in the fetal position and started breaking down and crying. I mean, this movie is too real. It's painful. I'm trying not to cry right now just to finish this video. But yeah, a Marriage Story on Netflix, which is mistitled, is the scariest horror movie of 2019 and probably 2020. If you made it this far in the video and you're not already subscribed to my YouTube channel, subscribe to my channel, ring the notification bell to get updated automatically when I produce more content. Like the video, comment on the video, share the video, give your thoughts in the comment section, and check out some of my other videos on my channel. Like them, share them. So yeah, subscribe to the channel, ring the notification bell, share it. I'm out.